Good morning. It is early Sunday morning, April 16th, 2023. I'm going to do a short market report and also show you something that I've been working on that I'll release later this week. Techniques. This is a video about techniques to help locate potential winners, and I'm going to be talking about code blue, code red prospecting scans. Gil Morales customer requested some scans to go along with the code red, code blue charts that Gil has. So that's something I'm working on, and I'll discuss it, show you briefly here after I look at the market and talk about it and talk about a release later in the week. Standard risk disclaimer: any stock, index, or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. You can get a free trial of HCS Investor for 30 days at highgrowthstock.com. You'll see the link on the primary page. Okay, I haven't gone through this yet. I was busy yesterday, so I'm just going to do this along with you. I'll go to my number one folder. I'll click through to the warehouse. The warehouse view that I'm using is under my name, top-down analysis, major markets. And this only gives us a look at the major markets. It really doesn't get into the internal structure. Now here's one of Gil's charts that I did years ago. I don't want to use that for this. I'll come back to that for the when I'll show you what I'm working on. Okay, let's use the Nasdaq internals and locate the Nasdaq composite. Make it full screen. Take the crosshair off. Use my alternate 1 key to get a close-up view, and you can see that we ended up with a doji on Friday. The Nasdaq was down most of the day, but by the end of the day, the traders, institutions managed to boost it back up to near even. What was the change? Minus 0.38 for the day. The range was 54.09, so just about right in the center of that. And what was the gap down was minus 3.8 on the opening gap down from the prior day's close. So it really didn't make any progress. Volume was light. You can see it's below average. And if you look up here at the VPA, volume less than average, spread below average, closes right in the mid, which formed the doji. The trends are still up. The VPA trends are still up, but we're just in a continued congestion area. Let me get a box here, or a frame. And you can see that it really has not gone anywhere. Looking back at this point here, during this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trading days, it has not gotten back up to what looked to be almost a breakout here. I say almost because if you put a horizontal line here and draw it across, it did not surpass this area. Traders are looking for direction, and the earnings season is upon us, so it's going to break one way or the other. But rather than concentrating too much just on what the primary indexes are doing, we need to really get inside the market and see what's happening. But before I move on to that, this is the strength versus the S&P, and you can see that this is down for the last day, which means the S&P outperformed the Nasdaq on this day. If we take a look at the next one, these are, let me bypass 1B and go to 1C. This 1B, I need to bring the quick pick up. With the quick pick, it's just so much easier to get where you're going. Okay, here's with the McClellan oscillator. And you can see that the advancing versus declining issues based upon the exponential moving averages used to calculate this indicator, it's turned down. Well, the market is essentially flat here. This is turned down a little bit, but we don't get a great deal of insight there, except it's to see that it's lost its upward momentum, which you can see back here. Now here's new highs versus new lows. The new lows went up on Friday, and the new highs went down, so that's some deterioration right there. Here's the AD line. You can see that it was moving up, and then it turned down again on Friday, but it's flat, just like the Nasdaq composite is flat. I'm going to take a quick look at Ian's multiple indicator chart, and you can see everything is green here, and there was a kahuna here on this day. It looked like it was going to go, and then yesterday it unfortunately stalled, hesitated. So just a real lack of direction. You saw the AD line is going down. The new highs, new lows, lines have reversed. There's more new lows than new highs. So it's really a tricky market to make any decisions based upon the indexes. That's why you really need to get down inside the market and look and see what the sectors and the groups are doing to get a feel for what's happening. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. First of all, I'm going to get out of this chart. I don't need it anymore. I'll just go to my black candle charts, and let's move over to the market analysis user groups. And this time I'm going to go into folder number 4, HDSI sectors by industry. I'll click through to the warehouse, and then I'm going to move down to my folder top-down scorecard views for HDSI index analysis. Sort on the top one. Number 1, percentage price change. And this shows us what index is based upon the sectors by industry that were moving in either direction. The financials were up on Friday based upon this, followed by the energy. The weakest one was materials. Healthcare was weak. But with these HDSI sectors by industry, you can change to the index group, and then the sub-industries under financials show where the strength was within that sector. And you can see the diversified bank index was up, followed by the institutional brokerage index. The weakest group in here was insurance services and other index. Let's just go into this. I'm just going to go down into the diversified bank index. I can either change to the index group, which makes up this sector, or to the industry group. I'll just go to the index group, and it's sorted on the percentage price change one day. You can see that JP Morgan and Citigroup are both on top. They both reported last week, and you can see on Friday, JP Morgan, you can see what happened here. There was a gap up on very heavy volume. Let's take a look at Citigroup. It also gapped up. Both have efforts to rise. So the financial sector looks good. The techs were some of the weakest on Friday, but if you just scroll down through these, you can see that the top ones, well, here's a percentage price change right here. Obviously, JP Morgan, after really beating earnings, was the leader in the group. I'm going to go back here. Institutional brokerage stocks were next, followed by life insurance and so on. But I'm not going to spend time doing this. I'm just showing you that you can come in here and really see what's happening with the structure of the market by going into the sectors by industry. Sectors, how they're doing, and also I can quickly move down and see how the industry groups within these sectors are doing, and then of course move down to the stocks. Now you have to really be careful this time of year because we're getting into the earnings season. And every chart, if you look at, here's JP Morgan over here, the earnings date is right here. You can see it says 4/14, so that happened on Friday. We know the earnings are out of the way now, but if you want to stay on top of the earnings, if you go to my non-index files, or just go to all securities, I'll show you this, and then go to my #1 folder, Ron's Daily Prospecting Scans, and just scroll down to the earnings due dates. Sort on raw combo, you can see which earnings, which stocks are coming up, and what groups are in. You can see that next week there are a lot of banks coming up. So once again, it's under earnings due dates, under my #1, my prospecting. I look at these every day, and sorted on the raw combo, it will tell you when the earnings are due, so you don't get caught. Now, these earnings dates are not always correct. I'll say that right now, so always double check with Thinkorswim if you use Thinkorswim, or with your data provider, and it will confirm it. So let's just take a look here. CCNE. I'll look in Thinkorswim. It's running in the background. CCNE. Whoops. Better do that correctly. And you can see that there is a question mark here. Earnings on 4/17, which is the same as we're getting from bar chart through HCS Investors. So it's confirmed. But I always like to confirm them both in HCSI and Thinkorswim. Now, I'm not going to do any more market analysis. I just want to quickly show you what I'm working on, and I'll release it hopefully this week. I want to test it intraday also. So I'm going to open this up. I have Gill's folder up here. I've built a couple of folders here with code blue scans, with a force index 2-day as a trigger, and code red scans. I'll just give you a brief view of this. Like I said, I need to test the intraday. First one is code blue. Now, obviously, we don't have blue in here. These are Gill's colors that he likes to use. So I'm going to go up to his charts. And just go down to a chart that I'm adding. It's a candlestick chart. It'll be number 5 under Gill's charts when I release this. And I call this a code blue because what I'm looking for are Bongo weekly, Bongo daily being blue, plus the force index 2 and 13. Now notice, make this larger right here, and I'll put a crosshair on this. The force 2 turned blue right here long before earnings were announced, but the force 13 was still red, as were the bongos. So it wasn't strong by any means based upon those indicators, but you can see there is a selling climax right here, right at the 200-day moving average. And I can see several accumulation days here, white candle bodies before earnings were released in anticipation that earnings were going to be good. And then we have the effort to rise, and also the Bongo weekly turned blue. The Bongo daily turned blue the day before. And then here's our confirmation. Now I'm using the force index as a trigger. If you're not familiar with the force index, it's been an HCSI from the beginning. Just go to your help file and select table of contents, and type in force index, and then this will give you all of the definitions of the force index. It's designed by Alexander Elder. This is the best indicator that I think he produced. It's a 2-day, it's today's close minus yesterday's close times today's volumes, and it's averaged over 2, 5, and 13 days. I use the 2 and the 13. And also there is another index in here. It's the absolute scaled absolute value of the force index, where we can see how strong the actual force index was. And that's going to require a different video. I'm just something that putting this in the scan view. Anyway, what I'm looking for the force index 2 to trigger. And then when we see the other indexes that are blue, like the bongo, weekly, bongo, daily, and so on, it really indicates a lot of strength. So let's just take a look here. I'm sorted on raw combo. I have a combo called moving up quickly, and that combo looks for the percentage price change one day, weighted 36.4%, range 36.4%, and the volume compared to the 50-day moving average volume at not quite as much. I wanted to sort these according to a price change and range with a dominant, but you can see that this stock, all three of these fields are green. Now I get down here, big percentage price change. The range is high, but the volume is not quite the factor. Okay, so let's take a look at Domo. Bring this up here. So the 2-day force kicked in here. This stock, even though it is in a downtrend, you can tell that by Gill's moving averages, and you can see there's been accumulation through here. As this accumulation has happened, the bongo weekly turned blue back here, and the bongo daily's been in and out of strength. It turned positive right here, and then the force index 2, you can see some buying coming in here, all these white candles with the force index. Here's an effort to rise candle. The force index 2 began there, and then the force 13 kicked in on this effort to rise. There were pocket pivots, and then there was a pullback, which generated a negative pocket pivot and a negative VPA flag, pseudo upthrust. But notice the stock really didn't go anywhere. It did dip down a little bit, and then there was a new effort to rise on with a pocket pivot as the bongo daily turned blue again. But the bongo 13-day, I'm sorry, not the bongo, the force index. The force index 13-day stayed positive through all this. So even with this pullback here, notice how low the volume was, and the force 13, which is averaged over 13 days, stayed positive. So it, even though it pulled back a little bit, it did not pull back with enough force to turn the 13 negative, and it was a chance to potentially get in here before this signal right here, because all of these are blue up here. Now this stock has obviously been beaten down and weak. It's probably not a great example. So if you're looking for stocks, like I said, this is going to require a much more lengthy video, but if you're looking for stocks that have been strong for quite some time, here is the force 2, here's the force 13, and the number of days these have been active. So I'm going to sort on the force 13. How long has this been active? It's been active for 83 days. The force 2 on Meta has only been positive for 2 days. 0 is the crossover day. So what this does by sorting on this, it shows me stocks that have been positive on the force 13 for a long time, and you're going to find stocks that are trending. Now look at this. The bongo weekly turned blue back here, the bongo daily clear back here, and then there were periods of weakness. But even during these periods of weakness after the gap up, notice that the Force 13 stayed positive throughout this. And all of these pullbacks on the red and then turning to blue, those could be short-term opportunities to get in, but there's a warning here. Maybe it's not such a good time because the bongo daily is still weak. Now it turns positive here. Both force indexes are positive, and we have an effort to rise, and then, of course, a shakeout again. But notice during all this time, because the volume is so low down here, that the Force 13, averaged over 13 days, does not turn negative, which suggests that the selling is muted. Also, look at the moving averages. I'm going to hit my alternate I key, and this tells you, by bringing this window up, it tells you what these moving averages represent. Pink is 10-day, blue is 50-day. These are both simple. The red's 200-day, and then Igil uses a 20-day EMA and a 65-day EMA. And these are shown here along with the force index numbers and so on. So you can see it rested here on the 20-day EMA, and then it stayed above the 10-day simple most of the time. So even though you're getting some choppiness here on the Force 2, these are opportunities to get in to the stock. This is just going to be another tool to help us find trades. Now, I decided to put this chart in with the VPA flags in here because I think it's a good combination along with the force indexes and the bongos. So we'll see how it works out. I just put this together starting on Friday and over the weekend. I'm not ready to release it because I want to work with it, but let me show you what we've got here. And there may be more, but this is the Force 2-day trigger and intraday version. This is a 2-day pullback on the Force. You can see that the Force here is red, so everything else is blue here. An opportunity to find setups on the pullback. Let's look at another one. Slight pullback here, but on a trending stock. That's Cadence. Okay, the next one is the code blue scan, the force index. The 2-day is positive, and what this does is not looking for a trigger, but it tells the number of days the force index 2 has been positive. So I sorted on this column right here, and if you look here, you can see this is a showing long-term strength. So I want to do this to find stocks that are trending, and then use the other scans to look for pullbacks. Now, if you look over here, this is a force index scale. It shows the amount of pressure, buying pressure or selling pressure based upon this column. You can see that the bongos, both daily and weekly, are here. I tried to put everything in here so it's visible so we can get a quick read on the strength of these stocks based upon the force indexes and the combos. I still, of course, I'm not ready to release this because there are things that I don't know about it yet, or I need to get more familiar with. And in addition to the force indexes, I left the VPA signals in here so you can look over here and see if there is a VPA flag. If there's a 0 in this column, or if this column right here is colored, it tells you that there was a VPA flag that day. So here's one, a no supply, a sign of strength. This is force indexes are positive, and here is the no supply, but you can see everything else is in the buy mode, and you can see that these have been blue for quite some time as this stock has gained momentum. one more in here that I put in, and I may put another one in, but this one is force index 2-day positive with a bongo weekly no, which means it's down, as you can see in this column. And the force index has been positive for 10 days, but what this allows us to do is to look for stocks that are showing signs of positive force index, and in this instance the bongo weekly or bongo daily is green, which may be coming off the bottom. Look at all these pocket pivots here, and this stock is under accumulation. So what I'm trying to do with these scans is give us different scenarios where we can look for strength. And then on the opposite side, I did the same thing for people that want to short with the 2-day trigger to the downside, and the other, as I get more familiar with this during the week, I'll put out another video and release this so everybody can start playing with it. I think it's a good addition to the arsenal. Anyway, I need to get going. Heading off to church, so I will see you, or I'll talk to you during the week with a new video. Thanks for listening.